Hello and welcome. My name is Katie Tremulis. I am a remote online notary based out of Florida. And today I have Alex Peterson here with me. He is a family law attorney that has his own practice as Family First Legal Group. So, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thanks very much for having me, Katie.
Of course. So, if you could tell me a little bit about how long you've been in business and what made you get into family law.
I'll give you the condensed version. I got into this business because I was adopted at 5 by my stepfather. I never met my biological dad. He abandoned my mother when I was an infant. And I went to law school just because it was a thing to do, I suppose. I didn't have any plans for it. I got a full scholarship to go to law school in Southwest Florida. And the job market was terrible in 2008, 2009. Never really knew what I was going to do. But I got out, and I think my life experience of having been adopted and then being raised in a family like that and having this kind of quote unquote unconventional family life, which you come to be realize as an adult, everyone does.
Yeah.
So, it made it very natural for me and organic for me to interact with clients.
Mhm.
And it's just been a fantastic ride ever since. And I started in 2012.
Okay. And then, so for your practice, how many attorneys are under you as far as within the practice?
At the time of this recording, I think 9.
Okay. That's amazing. Congratulations. So I wanted to also highlight the notarizations that are found within family law because for my world, it's very, very common to hear about notaries that are working primarily with real estate. But family law is also a very good source of referrals and partnership for notaries. So could you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, I could go on forever about this. We have cases where people are claiming they signed something that they didn't, and then other people are claiming they didn't sign something that they did. And you can eliminate all of that by having a video recording, which is one of the most valuable pieces that you provide and your company provides,
Mhm.
because now we can prove it was them. They have their ID, they swore it was them on the photo and on the video, and there's really no disputing it. So that's just one simple piece of these marriage settlement contracts. But in family law cases, there's contracts being signed all the time for child support, attorney's fees, alimony, division of assets, relocation to other states or countries, big, 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 weighty things. And if you don't get them signed correctly, they
Mhm.
could be invalid. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, so I got introduced to family law because I went through my own divorce, but now it's like one of the most I really, really like working within family law just because the notarizations are usually pretty straightforward. And then there are so many documents, like more so than what I ever really imagined, because there's prenups, postnups, parental plans, everything like that. So as far as the witnesses, I wanted to ask you about that. Do you usually recommend for your prenups and postnups to always have two witnesses present during the notarizations?
If it's possible and it's in your discretion, it's always better.
Hmm.
There are certain documents that don't require it, but it's preferable. Now, there are some documents, like if you're transferring an interest in real property as part of a marriage settlement agreement, for example,
Hmm.
or a quick claim deed or a warranty deed, those do require the witnesses as well. So if it's discretionary, I like to have it, but if it's required, of course, you have to have it.
Yeah. So I did want to ask you a question because it is a little bit more unconventional from when I'm working within real estate, and that is sometimes the lawyers like to be present during the actual remote notarizations. Could you explain a little bit of the reasoning behind that, of why you'd like to be present?
So for the real estate side, I really can't speak to it, Katie, but for the family law side, I like to ask questions at the signing,
Hmm.
because that way, if someone in the future would try to say, "Hey, that I didn't know what I was signing, or I was confused, or I felt like I was bamboozled," I can dispel all of that because I've already asked them questions at the time they're signing that make it very clear they knew exactly what they were doing. So for me, it's really valuable to be involved. And frankly, I would very infrequently want my clients to be signing without me there.
Yes, that does make sense, especially because of some of the nature of the documents and things that are happening within the documents. The questions do make sense anytime that you do ask them. So, yeah. So as far as working with Notary SWFL and for your remote closing or notarizations, how has that worked out with your practice, and do you recommend it to other law firms that are looking into remote notarization?
5 stars would return.
Thank you.
That says it all. That says it. It's really been great. You've seen some very interesting ones. You've seen English to Thai translations in prenup signings. You've seen some hostile folks who came in screaming and shouting and ultimately wouldn't sign. And I mean, you've seen the Jerry Springer and the and even the international flavor. So
Mhm.
it's been terrific working with you. Your people are wonderful. I feel badly how often I have to interrupt you and kind of say, "Can you get on the signing with me tomorrow, please?" Like it's urgent. But yeah, no, it's been wonderful, and I'm always grateful to have those videos and the kind of flexibility and the convenience and the reliability. Nothing negative to say. It's been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So as far as your marketing, so we met through a BNI meetup. I think I caught you at the very end and I was like, "Hey, I'm a remote notary, like please work with me." So as far
And
as
then I think I hired you in like 30 seconds afterward. I was like, I think I need you tomorrow. So can you do this for me? Because you got me at the perfect time where I really didn't have anyone and hadn't been exposed to this. And
yeah.
now that we've been working together, I can't imagine going back. It's like back to the Stone Ages.
It is really, really nice. Sometimes it's a little bit of an uphill battle for talking to like law firms about that. And they're like, okay, but how do we print it? Like, can you print this out and then send it to me like via FedEx? I'm like, no, no, no. Everything's remote. It does not matter. And they're like, okay,
That's right.
but yeah, so it is a little bit of an uphill battle, but I think you asked me about one specific scenario and you're like, okay, if they're in a different state, and I was like, they're in a different country. And then I think that's what you were like, all right, I need to hear a little bit more. So yeah, I do like BNI. I mean, you would advocate for referral groups and things of that nature
Oh,
too,
of course.
marketing.
Yeah, I was in BNI, which is Business Networking International. For anybody listening who isn't aware, it's just a group of professionals who get together in all different kind of industries, and then they pass referrals around, and it's out of sight, out of mind kind of logic. Where if you're not together with people, you don't think of them, and I don't think, oh, so and so needs their house painted, and I know a good house painter. That stuff works well. I kind of grew out of that space when my firm hit a certain level,
Mhm.
and we do other forms of marketing now, but it was wonderful at the time, and now we have all different types of marketing.
Yeah. So I also wanted to touch on that because I love marketing. And what is your favorite form of marketing for a law firm, if you don't mind telling me?
Oh, I don't mind telling you it all, but I'd have to think for a moment. I've written 2 books that I'm pretty proud of. One about child custody, and the other about prenuptial agreements and why they're so important. But I think honestly, if my favorite probably is the podcast as well. You have this platform, and I have what's called the Florida Family Law Podcast.
Hmm.
I've really, really enjoyed that because I can simultaneously market but also educate. And that's been great because I feel like I'm supplying a much needed bit of information, whether it be about forensic accounting or business valuations or relocations or parenting evaluations or parental coordination. There's just so many topics in my industry, and I'm sure in yours too, Katie, that would confuse the average person, would have confused me before I was in the practice.
Hmm.
Now I can both simultaneously demonstrate we have a very strong command of these things, and also I can educate the consumer. Whereas if you think about only 50 years ago, your advertisement was like a newspaper ad or a television ad or radio ad, and you really can't go into any depth. Whereas now you and I can have a half hour or an hour long conversation, and there can be a lot of value and detail in that there wouldn't be otherwise. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I was listening to that a little bit earlier, and then just obviously with my background, I think that that is a terrific resource, both as a person that you know went through a divorce. It is a little bit of a splash of cold water when you start doing that process, to try and find out information that would be relevant to you. And so even from just a couple of the podcasts that I was listening to, I was like, this is so valuable for someone that is starting to go through, or ideation stage of a divorce. So I also wanted to thank you because that's a terrific resource for anyone that is, going through one of the worst times of their life. So, it is a good um, resource. And then also from a marketing perspective, it is a really, really good way to build your business because, I could be it's like instead of one to one, it's one to many, where other people can also listen to the podcast, recommend you to their friend that's going through something similar that you're talking about within the podcast. So what I think that you're doing is terrific. So thank you and well done. So I know that
It's very kind of you, Katie. And I'm grateful to you for sharing your experience because, when I first got into this business, as I was saying about being adopted, it was not something I went around discussing. I kept it very private. And in fact, I
Mhm.
had my dad who adopted me was my best man at my wedding 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And many of my friends in the audience at the time did not know that he was not my biological dad.
Hmm.
So, your willingness to express that you've lived through this and that you've gone through it and acknowledge that it sucks and it's not ideal. I think that is a needed piece of society because particularly in marketing you'll see a lot of folks who present as though life is just a dream,
Yeah.
and everything is perfect at all times in every ways, and that's a lie, and
Hmm.
it's being sold to you as a lie intentionally, and it's not fair. And my more preferred marketing approach is this sucks, let's try to make it suck as little as humanly possible.
Yes. Yeah. I do like that type of attitude towards it too, because like nobody signs up to learn this much about family law unless, something's happening where it's like a catalyst of like, okay, this is happening, so I might as well be informed about it. So, those types of resources are both super, super helpful for your potential clients and then also as if someone is deciding to work with you. So yeah, that the podcast, the same thing for my YouTube channel. I do think that that has been one of the more helpful ways to create like attraction-based marketing rather than going out there. And it's just like you put out the podcast and then, they hopefully will contact you to be able to start working with you. As far as international notarizations, I kind of also wanted to ask you, have you seen a little bit of a increase for that with the um, recent happenings? Have you seen like a little bit a little bit of an increase in international notarizations?
Are you referring to because immigration policy and
Yeah.
deportations?
Yeah.
So I don't work in immigration necessarily, but there is some carryover to the family law space where we've had a few additional cases this year because of maybe one member of the family is being deported and
Hmm.
they need to execute documents for the children remaining, or
Hmm.
there's transfer of custody. So I would say maybe, but it hasn't been dramatic because Southwest Florida is a pretty what I call transient region of the world. You have a lot of people who come and a lot of people who go.
Hmm.
So we've had always a pretty steady flow of international and interstate, notarizations and signings.
Yeah. So, to go on to the next topic, one of the questions that I did have is instead of basically flagging you down at the end of a BNI conference, meeting, how do you typically like being marketed to, or if there's a notary that's listening on how to start working with family lawyers, as remote notaries?
That's a really great question, Katie. First, I think I need to go back and compliment you. Not everyone would have flagged me down, and I do think that's the answer to your question is the best way to market to me personally is face to face or
Hmm.
or over the phone, but usually better face to face. So if I were starting a mobile notary company or notarization or any firm that was going to be assisting legal firms,
Hmm.
I would be at the sorts of bar functions. I would try to give presentations to the bar functions about the benefits of mobile notarization, about the convenience, about the ease, about the client feedback about those things. Get yourself in a room with 20 or 30 real estate lawyers who are there for a seminar. Maybe you're presenting at a lunch and learn and you're just providing a meal to them and also you chat with them on the lunch break. I think if you can get in front of an audience like that in person,
Hmm.
that's the biggest win you'll ever get.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something more remote, I think what you're doing this way is fantastic. maybe some, newsletter. Physical mail is nice because it's so different. Electronic mail gets lost so easily.
Yeah.
But for me personally, there's no substitute for in-person, face-to-face. And then I also must mention, you have always fulfilled and delivered.
Yes.
If you had met with me and then I said, okay, we're going to work together, and then your team or you dropped the ball repeatedly, we wouldn't be having this conversation and I wouldn't be working with you because I would realize that this is just not as advertised. But
Mhm.
so the marketing, I think, is delivering
Yeah.
and also acquiring the client.
Yeah, because sometimes within the notary group, they focus so much on fulfillment and or like getting good as a notary that they don't market, or sometimes they start marketing before they're fully prepared to kind of take on those types of clients. Because obviously for family law, it is a little bit more. Um, there's a little bit more pressure when the lawyers are on the notarization call. And so there's a little bit of a I mean, mind space that you have to there's a little bit more pressure when there's two lawyers on the call as well. So that is something to think about when you are doing these notarizations, just as like a little bit of a PSA for any notaries. Make sure that you're always asking the right questions or like the legally required questions. You have everything set up. And then also the fulfillment part of it is really important for when you're walking your signers through the notarization. So that way, the first time that, Alex came to me, he had a good experience because of all the prep that I did beforehand. So, you know, if you are starting to work with family law, do your homework and then start marketing. So I think that would be the best way to start with this.
I could throw one more thing in, Katie, without making you lose your train of thought. One of the other things too is, recall there was a time you and I were working together where I needed you to swear in the witnesses, and I just emailed you the oath because I wasn't clear if you knew it or we're a team as far as I see it. You are objective and independent. You
Mhm.
don't fight or advocate for anyone, but everyone involved should want a contract that's binding and signed and correct.
Yes.
So otherwise they wouldn't be signing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for your listeners and folks who are doing the notarization, particularly those who are younger and have not been in a professional setting as much, maybe. We're trying to work with you. We're a team here. I want to get this done right. And at least a good lawyer wouldn't be ever browbeating you or suggesting that you're incompetent or something ridiculous. It
Mhm.
would say, hey, let's get this solved. We got to make it right. And if it takes a little longer, we got to take a step back. So what? We just got to get it done.
Yeah, and that was like a little bit of a different type of introduction to me as well because I first started working with personal injury lawyers and then started delving into more and more of working with lawyers and I'm like this is everything's fine. They're really everybody's really nice, so it is a partnership. There are emails that go back and forth about clarifications, and if something's not clear, obviously just ask questions for the law firm, or you're like, hey, how do you want this to be filled out? Or how does this get handled? And so, like, your office has always been very, very, like, uh, amazingly communicative. And then also, as like a side note, if you are a notary that is calling into a law firm and you're dealing with an active case, make sure that you let them know that you're the notary working on an active case. So that way, you get some answers a little bit quicker and like kind of escalate it a little bit higher. So, um, and then, okay, so changing gears, we were talking about the going to a bar event. So that is for the bar association. Every state, I think, has a bar association that the lawyers, do they have to be a part of it or can they if they want to?
Yes, so you have to be a member of the state bar to practice law in that state, but then each county and
Hmm.
sometimes municipality may have an additional subset of the bar. So, for example, Collier County Bar Association or Lee County Bar Association, those are discretionary. You don't have to be a member.
Okay. So as a little bit of a side note, would you recommend for affiliates that are looking to work with law firms to join the bar association for the counties or no?
Absolutely. I mean, you're really, if you want to look for a kind of related or corollary industry who's had success, look at court reporters. court reporters have been working alongside the legal industry for 100 years, 200 years. I mean, a long, long, long time.
Mhm.
And they're members of those associations. They're sponsors of golf outings and all sorts of things. So it's really quite similar.
Yeah. And so for anyone is involved or like looking into it, you can just go to like your local league, like, ours is Leader Collier, but you can go to your local association and then just look up how to join as either an affiliate or a referral partner. And then just you would have to apply, and then pay whatever fee that it is. And then usually you get on like a subscription and then you get invited to events, which you should go to, because those events are where everybody would typically go. So for the law firms, they also want, I mean, do you guys get referrals from other lawyers as well?
Oh, all the time, certainly.
Yeah.
Because
So,
we're industry specific, we're very niche practice. We only do family law. So every estate plan, every injury case, every real estate issue, every probate issue, I could list as long as my arm. Those
hmm,
get referred out to other lawyers.
okay.
And then those lawyers, of course, that don't do family law, they send us referrals. So absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess I literally just made that connection just now, that you would have to refer work out to other lawyers, so it makes sense to go to those types of events too. So before we wrap this up, how does someone that wants to work with you directly find you?
Our website is familyfirstlegalgroup.com, all spelled out. So not one ST, but family, FIRST, family first legalgroup.com. Our podcast again is the Florida Family Law Podcast, and the office number is 239-206-3664. But that seems like an antiquated thing to give out these days. But anyhow, a phone number, email, or contact the website, it's all there, and we'd be happy to serve.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Katie. Keep doing a great job. It's been really great working with you, and I recommend you completely.
Thank you.